Namaste, yogis. I thought I'd just take a few moments to say a few words and introduce our traditional Tantric Hatha Yoga teacher training here, the 200-hour training that we run here in Bali, and just give a short overview about what the course entails, what it is, and also what it isn't. I won't spend too long on what it isn't, even though I could. I think as fascinating as it is to talk about, what Tantra is, it's equally interesting these days to talk about what Tantra isn't. And there's a whole lot of confusion. There's a mass global confusion around this very, very sacred path of Tantra. So rather than do that, what I will do is just talk a little bit about what Tantra is. Essentially, Tantra, which is what we teach here at the practice, is, well, it's two things. On one side, it's a life-affirming philosophy that really sees the world and everything in it as essentially sacred or divine. And then the second part of that equation is it's a precise set of methods and practices that allows us to not only understand the philosophy and conceptually grasp the worldview. It's a way, it's a path, and it's a set of methods that allow us to embody, to literally become that worldview. Essentially, it means the practices allow us to become the sacred. And the result of that is that the wall that separates the spiritual and the mundane or the human aspects of our life, that wall, it dissolves. And there is a weaving together, an integrating of all aspects, all factions and elements of our life, from the very basic human side of things to the more transcendent and transcendental aspects of our existence. These things merge together, and that really is the essence of Tantra, and that's what the philosophy speaks to, and that is what the methodology allows us to fully not just grasp, but embody. The first time I met my guru's guru, Panditji, in India at the Kumbh Mela, what struck me more than anything, more than his power, more than his mental luminosity, which was just more supreme than I'd ever experienced in a human being before, the light of this man's mind. But what really struck me and what I really took away from that experience was the full spectrum way in which he was able to bring life and joy and a sense of the sacred into every single little detail of his life. We'd be chanting mantra into the fire for hours before the sun would come up, and then as soon as that was done, he would be out the gate with his grandchildren, throwing them into the air. The next moment, he'd be, giving a discourse or playing bhajan and singing his heart out, then writing books or initiating people into mantra, giving lectures, giving talks. And, there was no gaps. There was no gaps in terms of where the yoga stopped and where life started. It was all just it was perfectly woven together into one seamless and sacred tapestry. That is Tantra. And these are the methods that we want to share with you on these trainings, how to bring that level of integration, not just into practice, but into every little detail of life, to literally weave it all together. And that's one of the other definitions of Tantra, is to weave. Another definition of Tantra that I think is worthy of noting is the first root word, tan, means to expand, and tra, one of the meanings of tra is beyond limits. So to keep on expanding ourselves beyond our previous limits, to not be satisfied with the status quo, but to keep on challenging ourselves to expand and to evolve and to grow in every aspect of our life so that we can be more of service to a greater number of people in a wider dimension of life, to keep on growing our capacity. That's Tantra. And perhaps the other interesting thing that we can look at is another meaning of this second part of the word tra. And we find this in mantra as well. Man means mind, and tra can mean to protect. So then if we come back to the first part of the word tantra, tan, to expand in a way that we are protected. So what is that protection? What is the protection device that allows us to expand beyond our limits and weave together all aspects of our life? And it's really, really simple. The answer is simple. It's the methodology, it's the science, it's the precision. Every single little piece of this philosophy, of this science, of this art form, it's very carefully and precisely calculated. In a rough sense, this systemology, it comes down in the form of moon, sun, and fire. Moon is looking at developing our capacity for mental stability and calmness. One of the things that Panditji is often quoted as saying is that a mind that is not tranquil is really not fit for any path, not just the path of yoga and tantra and meditation, but any path. To really excel in any walk of life, whether it's spiritual or worldly, the mind must be a good mind. And that's the moon. That's the moon practice. Stabilize your mind. Make it single-pointed. Once it has become that, then we can move on to the deeper layers of practice. And this is the sun field. Sun speaks to prana. Moon speaks to mind. Sun speaks to prana. Only when the mind is calm and stable and single-pointed can we connect with this pranic ocean that surrounds us and sustains all things within and without, and also be able to direct that energy. Stabilize the mind, connect with energy, and then direct it. This brings us into the last stage of practice, fire practice. Now, fire speaks to the spark, the illuminated soul. It speaks to awakening our highest potential as human/spiritual beings, Kundalini. And that's really what the fire is about. But it takes those other two stages to really speak to that final rung of practice in a meaningful way. And then within all of those stages, there are sub-progressions and subsystems. For example, working in the direction of asana, pranayama, meditation, mantra. Within all of those three stages of moon, sun, fire, we find this sub-progression of working with the body through asana, to leverage the breath in a certain way. Then through working with the breath in pranayama, we leverage the mind in specific ways. Then working with the mind in meditation, and particularly meditation with mantra, we're able to connect with the source of our being, or the source of all beings, and stabilize and enrich that enrich that relationship with that part of ourself that is beyond the body and beyond the breath and beyond the mind. And really, this understanding of the the science of yoga, the science of Tantra. This is what separates an asana teacher from a yoga teacher. It's what separates someone who practices a little bit of asana or a little bit of yoga and a yogi. And really, in the grandest sense of things, knowing the science is the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary life. And this is really what we are most interested in within the context of these trainings. Giving you the tools to realize your highest potential as human beings, as individuals. Yes, to thrive on the mat, on the meditation cushion. Yes, to thrive as teachers of this science, if that is something that you aspire to do. But more than that, it's just to help you, to help people create for themselves an extraordinary existence, because that is what we are designed for, and that is really what the world needs most. More examples of people just living to their highest capacity, bringing the light of their soul, full force of their soul into the world, into every little detail and aspect of their life. And that's what Tantra is about. And that's what we want to share with you guys. So if you're interested in joining us on one of these inner and outer explorations, please get in contact. You can email training@thepractice.com. You can check out more details on the website, www.thepracticebali.com. And then if you decide that you want to sign up, fill in the application form that you can find on the website, send it in to us, and we'll start the conversation. All right. So here's to extraordinary living. Hari Om.